Hello and welcome to the latest edition of World Today. I'm Akshata Nandagopal. Lots happening globally. There seem to be multiple conflict zones now. But this evening, our focus, of course, is on the West Asia war. 5 days now of the conflict between Iran and Israel, and no signs of abating right now. American President Donald Trump left G7 summit in Canada a day early, rather surprisingly, to monitor the Iran-Israel war, as he put it. And within hours of his return to the White House, the US president is busy putting out one post after another on Truth Social, on his social media page, where he's gone ahead and directly targeted Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. Now, in his Truth Social post, Trump says he knows exactly where the Iranian supreme leader is hiding, as he puts it. He says this is an easy target and that he is not going to kill him for now. I'm reading verbatim from what Trump has said. You can go ahead and decipher it whichever way you want. But for now, Trump says he's not going to kill him for now. Before that, Trump posted, and I quote, "We now have complete and total control of the skies over Iran." And finally, in the last post that he's put out, he's put in full caps saying unconditional surrender. A clear message again to Iran that there will be no conditions that they can lay out. Surrender by Iran has to be completely unconditional. Earlier, Donald Trump said that Iran should have signed the deal and then didn't speak of a ceasefire, but said very clearly that there will be an end to this. Exactly in what manner that will be, we don't know. Iran and US were supposed to have another round of talks on 15 June. Got derailed, of course, when Israel started to rain missiles on Iran on 13th June. And since then, US has resolutely stood with Israel. Now, President Trump, importantly, has also warned residents of Tehran, saying evacuate, suggesting the United States was working on something, as he put it, better than a ceasefire. US President, Vice President, in fact, J.D. Vance posted on X saying that President Trump has been consistent over 10 years that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. J.D. Vance then elaborated exactly what America's stand is, saying over the last few months, Trump encouraged his foreign policy team to reach a deal with the Iranians, and he said repeatedly that this would happen one of two ways, the easy way or the other way, as Vance has put it in a social media post. Vance also has repeatedly pointed out that there's not been a single good argument for why Iran needed to enrich uranium well above the threshold for civilian use, violating its non-proliferation obligations, which is what Israel has been maintaining, that they believe Iran is building up nuclear weapons, which they feel is a threat to them. Now, J.D. Vance, therefore, has clearly stated out America's position, concluding that President Trump is only interested in using the American military to accomplish American people's goals. Now, as far as Iran and Israel goes, they're trading blow after blow in what's fast becoming the region's most dangerous conflict in decades. With Israel eliminating Iran's top military commanders, the stakes are higher than ever for Iran.
Israel and Iran are on the brink of a big escalation. Two loud explosions were heard in Tehran on Tuesday morning. Israel has warned that it will attack more significant targets in Tehran today. Latest images released by Israel showed strikes on F-14 fighter jets in a Tehran airport, apart from strikes on trucks containing weapons and launchers on the way to Tehran. Israel has also asserted that its decision not to target Iran's nuclear facility in Fordo so far does not mean it won't in the future. Israel has dealt another deadly blow to Iran after laying majority of Iranian military top brass to waste just days ago. The Israeli Defense Forces eliminated Ali Shadmani, Iran's newly appointed wartime chief of staff. Shadmani was the most senior military commander and the closest figure to Iranian Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei. His predecessor Hossein Salami was killed just days ago by Israel in a similar strike.
Tonight, following accurate intelligence received by the intelligence branch, we eliminated Ali Shadmani, the war chief of staff, the most senior military commander of the Iranian regime. Shadmani only managed to hold the position for 4 days, and we also eliminated him. We will pursue our enemies again and again using advanced intelligence capabilities, exploiting opportunities, air superiority, and complex operational planning.
Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz, meanwhile, has issued an open warning to Iran's supreme leader Khamenei, claiming he could end up like Saddam Hussein.
I warn the Iranian dictator from continuing to commit war crimes and fire missiles at Israeli citizens. He should remember what happened to the dictator in the country neighboring Iran who took this path against the state of Israel. We will continue today as well to operate against regime targets and military targets in Tehran, as we did against the Propaganda and Incitement Broadcasting Authority.
Israeli fighter jets also launched a wave of targeted airstrikes deep into Iranian territory, including a shocking strike on Iran's state broadcaster headquarters in Tehran during a live transmission. The anchor on air was seen scrambling for cover as fire engulfed the studio. Flames consumed the building, and the aftermath was nothing short of catastrophic. A senior reporter for Iran's IRIB news agency stood outside the burning headquarters with hands stained with blood.
This appalling attack constitutes a blatant war crime and a direct assault on press freedom. The Israeli regime has once again demonstrated that it is the foremost enemy of truth. It holds the disgraceful record of being the world's leading perpetrator of violence against journalists and media professionals.
Iran too is hitting back with a wave of ballistic missile strikes on Israel. An Iranian Defense Ministry spokesman has claimed that Israel will be defeated in the coming days.
The Zionist enemy does not have the possibility of resisting and enduring a long war, and therefore this regime will be defeated in this imposed war.
امکان مقاومت و تاب‌آوری یک جنگ طولانی رو نداره.
Are Israel and Iran now at a point of no return? Bureau Report, India Today.
So Iran's 86-year-old supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, cuts an increasingly lonely figure. Very few allies in the world. Khamenei has seen his main military security advisors all killed by Israeli airstrikes, leaving major holes in his inner circle and raising the risk of strategic errors. There is a threat of regime change that looms larger over Iran, and both Israel, now the US, have been very, very vocal about getting rid of, in some cases eliminating, Khamenei, that would lead to a race for succession in Iran and a vacuum of leadership.
The Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu believes killing Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei would end the conflict between Israel and Iran.
We had the peace talks. We gave it a chance. We've, clenched our teeth. We did everything we could to enable President Trump to negotiate the desired result, and that would have been preferable for us and I think for everyone. But we saw in the course of the negotiations, while they were negotiating with the United States, the supreme leader of Iran, Ayatollah Khamenei, tweeted almost every day, "Death to Israel." The talks were merely a facade.
So are you going to target the supreme leader?
Look, we're doing what we need to do. I'm not going to get into the details.
But then, news reports suggested the US President Donald Trump has shot down Israel's solution to escalating tension with Iran.
U.S. officials tell us that the president flatly rejected a plan, an opportunity that the Israelis had to take out the supreme leader. Do you understand his concern? My understanding is his concern is that this would escalate the conflict beyond where it is already.
No, it's not going to escalate the conflict. It's going to end the conflict.
The man in question, the supreme leader of Iran, 86-year-old Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, came to power succeeding Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini in 1989. For more than 2.5 decades, Iran has been ruled with iron fist by him. Ayatollah Ali Khamenei is the ultimate authority over Iran's judiciary, armed forces, state media, and key institutions like the Guardian Council and Expediency Discernment Council. His words are law for Iran, and he doesn't trust the West, especially the United States of America. Khamenei has accused the US of seeking regime change.
In negotiations, one must be certain that the other party will honor their commitments. When we know they won't follow through, what is the point of negotiating? Therefore, the invitation to negotiate and the expression of willingness to do so is merely a deception of public opinion.
June 2025 has brought the focus back on his survival and the broader question of his successor in case he's eliminated like his other close aides in 5 days of war with Israel. Top of that list could be his son, Mojtaba Khamenei. Born in 1969, he is the second son of Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. He joined Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps or IRGC in his youth and served in the final phase of the Iraq-Iran war. He himself is a mid-ranking cleric with connections both within the IRGC and the clerical circle. Ali Reza Arafi is a trusted confidant of Khomeini. He has held a series of positions in Iran. Arafi is the second deputy chairman of the Assembly of Experts, a member of the Guardian Council, Friday prayer leader of Qom, and an influential figure in the seminary. His position within the power structure enhances his chances of being chosen as the successor. Ali Asghar Hijazi, the Deputy of Political Security Affairs at Khomeini's office, could be another contender. He has been involved in sensitive security decisions and is often described as the most powerful intelligence official in Iran. Gholam Hossein Mohseni Ejei is referred to by some as an Ayatollah. He has spent his career in Iran's judiciary and intelligence apparatuses. Mohseni Ejei has served as a Minister of Intelligence under President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, Attorney General, and First Deputy Chief and Spokesman for the Judiciary. And there are others as well. The head of Khamenei's office, Mohammad Golpayagani, as well as former Iranian foreign ministers Ali Akbar Velayati and Kamal Kharazi, and ex-parliament speaker Ali Larijani. They are all trusted confidants on diplomatic and domestic policies, issues such as the nuclear dispute. But their relation with the clerics would weigh heavily to decide succession. Bureau Report, India Today.
So for now, Donald Trump has maintained that they don't have a plan of killing Khamenei, but he says for now. So we'll have to see what really happens and what his fate will be in the coming days. What's very clear is that this conflict continues to rage on, with multiple reports even coming in right now of strikes, counter-strikes playing out in both Israel and Iran. In Iran, internet connectivity is also slowed as a result of these strikes by Israel. Now remember, as far as the G7 goes, and the spotlight really was on the group of 7, where you've got these Western powers, these countries all coming together essentially at a time of this conflict. So we thought, and many assumed, that there would be a big takeaway that emerged from the G7. And yet you had Donald Trump cutting short his visit to Canada and his participation in the G7. So the 50th anniversary of G7 became lackluster after Trump left a day early to monitor this conflict. Before he left, he asserted that it was a very big mistake to remove Russia from the G7 summit. A day later, Russia said that G7 has lost its practical significance.
Russia regained its importance and recognition on the world stage by none other than US President Donald Trump. At the Group of Seven summit in Kananaskis, Canada, Trump suggested that Russia should never have been removed from the group.
Barack Obama and a person named Trudeau didn't want to have Russia in, and I would say that that was a mistake, because I think you wouldn't have a war right now if you had Russia in, and you wouldn't have a war right now if Trump were president 4 years ago, but it didn't work out that way. But it used to be the G8, and now it's, I guess, what's that, 8 years ago, it switched over. They threw Russia out, which I claimed was a very big mistake. Even though I wasn't in politics then, I was very loud about it. It was a mistake in that.
Trump asserted that it was a very big mistake to remove Russia in 2014 after it annexed Crimea. Kremlin echoed Trump's views.
This is undoubtedly an important event, and it carries significant informational value. Of course, we are analyzing the incoming information. We agree with President Trump. It was a major mistake to exclude Russia from the G8 back then. However, our position is well known. Today, the G7 has lost its practical relevance for us, given the shrinking share of G7 countries.
Russia had previously been a member of the elite group from 1998 to 2014. It was then called the G8. But later, with Russia's suspension, the group was renamed G7. Disagreements over trade and climate have tested the future of the group. This year's meet marks the 50th anniversary of the group. The United States, France, Italy, Japan, the UK and West Germany formed the group of 6 in 1975. It was a platform for the non-communist powers to address economic concerns, including inflation and a recession sparked by the organization of the petroleum exporting countries' oil embargo. Canada joined the following year. Bureau Report, India Today.
Okay, let me bring in Gaurav Sawant. He's joining us live from the location where you have had a series of these G7 meetings happening in Canada. Gaurav, good evening, or rather good morning. A day of course, a series of bilaterals planned for Prime Minister Modi. But I want to put the focus, Gaurav, on the G7 and the fact that President Trump, rather unexpectedly, has left a day early. Does this mean essentially that for the group of 7, the G7, they've kind of lost their luster?
Well, there is a crisis that America is grappling with very directly. America has come to Israel's aid. There are issues that President Trump has to deal with, and there are issues that G7 countries are dealing with at a different level. You're absolutely right in terms of had President Trump been here, it would have been altogether different. But then, there are times that events overtake what's happening here. The focus, again, here, there was an attempt to ensure that all the G7 countries are able to put together a request, one, for de-escalation, and two, put across that point that Israel has a right to defend itself. But if you look at the conflict, it's escalating so much that President Trump is now asking Iran to surrender. So from that point when that statement was made at G7 to the point that Trump has reached White House, now he wants not just de-escalation, but he wants total surrender by Iran. He's sending in his B-2 bombers with the GBU-57 bombs. Those are already at the Diego Garcia base. 3 aircraft carrier battle groups already in the Indo-Pacific region. And all of this is an indication that the war in between Israel and Iran is only set to escalate and perhaps so remains the only area where American assistance would be required to in a way, degrade Iran's nuclear capabilities. Bomb making apart, even their civilian nuclear capabilities, the attempt is to derail it and set it back by several years. And the military power has been degraded very extremely. offensively. They're still striking inside Israel, but not with the intensity with which they were able to do so. But that's one part of the story. The other part, which from India's perspective remains equally important, is Prime Minister Narendra Modi's bilateral with Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney, with Giorgia Meloni of Italy, with the German Chancellor, and with President Zelensky of Ukraine. So there are four important India-centric bilaterals that are also to take place later today, for which a lot of effort is going on to have that reset button pressed on India-Canada relationship, which directly impacts, millions of Indians and Indian Canadians and the relationship between the two countries. So that remains equally important from an Indian perspective.
Very true. And that bilaterals, the series of them, as Gaurav tells you, is expected to kick off at about 12 a.m. midnight India time. But we will track all the latest updates on that. Gaurav Samant is reporting from Ground Zero at the G7 venue. Thanks very much, Gaurav, for the moment, for joining us. That's all we have time for in this edition of World Today. I'll continue getting you the news and updates and the latest on the Iran-Israel conflict on the other side of a very, very short break. Stay with us.